It was announced here. The Secretariat, please take note, and this kind of mistake should be avoided in the future. Page 1142, page 1143, page 1144, page 1145, page 1146, page 1147, page 1148, page 1149. Distinguished Senator Bella Mandia, Katuna North, Katuna South rather.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Bella Mandia, I represent Katuna South. I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 22nd September 2021 be approved. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Albert Basi Akpan.
Thanks, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleague, Senator Albert Basi Akpan, Akwa Ibom, Northeast. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion ably moved that the vote and proceedings be approved. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 22nd September 2021 be approved, say aye. Those against, as amended. Yes, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 22nd September 2021 is hereby approved. Letter from Mr. President. Dear Distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of Engineer Mohammed San Baba as Federal Commissioner for Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission representing Bauchi State. In accordance with the provision of Section 154, subsection 1 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, I write to forward for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Engineer Mohammed San Baba as Commissioner representing Bauchi State in the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The nominee's CV is attached herewith. It is my hope that the distinguished Senate will consider and confirm the nominee in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept the distinguished Senate President the assurance of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of commissioners to fill vacancies at the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. In accordance with the provision of Section 3, subsection 6 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, I write to forward for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of the underlisted nominees as commissioners representing the Southwest, South-South, Northeast and Southeast at the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Their CVs are attached herewith. Dr. Mrs. Moji Shola Yaya Kwalade, Southwest Ekiti State. Ann Otelafu Ode, South-South Cross River State. Alugwani Ali Gujiba, Northeast Yobe State. Dr. Leos Solomon Mandama, Northeast Adamawa State. Senator Anthony O. Agbo, Southeast Ebonyi State. It is my hope that the distinguished Senate will consider and confirm the nominees in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Petitions. Distinguished Senator Basi Albert Akpan, Akwa Ibom Northeast.
Thank you, defatigable Senate President, Senator Albert Bassi, Akwa Ibom North East. Petition. I have a petition here from my constituent, Alcamo Limited, against Samsung Heavy Industries and Kirsten Consultant Service for a breach of contract. Mr. President, this petitioner believes that he will seek solace in the National Assembly and has not sought help anywhere else. So by the leave of Mr. President, can I please lead?
The petitioner seeking energy. The petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions to report back in 4 weeks. Distinguished Senator Ayo Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akinyelure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, presentation of petition not laid but referred to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. Senate Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petition, in line with Order 41, wishes to present to the Senate some petition yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate, in order to officially place the petitions in the public domain through the floor of the Senate and for the votes and proceeding to capture the approval for referral. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please find below the summary of petition received from the Office of the President of the Senate. 1. Engineer Emma Agede against the management of National Assembly Service Commission. Subject matter: complaint on withdrawal and denial of my promotion letter 2017 for the position of Assistant Director, Mechanical Engineering. So the Commission's approved lateral conversion 2013 to engineering cadre as Chief Mechanical Engineer, and the premature retirement on July 2020. Gross discrimination of a holder of HND Engineering and a registered Korean member. Denial and violation of my rights and privileges in the public service. Number 2, Jemilu Samuel Esquire against Seidu Abubakar and 2 others. Complaint on the following acts of some person against our client. Number 3, A.A. Malik S.A.N. against SBI International Holding, NV of Curacao, Netherlands entity. Petition for the kind intervention of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for payment of the principal sum and accrued interest in respect of Federal Republic of Nigeria government promissory note serial number FGN/SBI/P3, FGN/SBI/P4, and FGN/SBI/P6. Number 4, Mr. Tobeshi Shibu against Nigerian Navy or Nigerian Army. Repetition against the extrajudicial murder of Mr. Noel Ezeribe Shibu of officers of the Nigerian Army on 30th April 2021. And finally, Mr. President, Noto Effion Ediet, against the Department of Chieftaincy Affairs Governor's Office, Cross River State, explicit seal of approval for critical human rights abuses, manipulating and falsifying vital documents, fraudulent practices, and underhand dealings that had come to define the Department of Chieftaincy Affairs. My request to overturn the report for betrayal of trust, injustice, and bias based on overrides. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitions seeking judicial remedy. I therefore seek the approval of the Senate to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Since none of the petitioners is seeking any judicial remedy, you may lay the petitions.
Thank you, Mr. President. None of them is seeking judicial remedy. Thank you.
The petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Senator Matthew Uragide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Matthew Urogide. I represent Edo South Central District. So, Mr. President, I have a petition from one of my constituents by name Comrade JEA Obasiu JP. He's writing a petition against the Nigerian Public Service Reportorial Union over the stoppage of his pensions and his gratuity. This petition does not have any other encumbrance in any legal, there's no legal action.
You may lay the petition. The petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Point of order, Senator Ibrahim Abdullah Gobir.
Sir, I go to order 42, sir. Can I read, Your Excellency? Go ahead, okay. Order 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and that the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by Mr. President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators.
The minority leader, if you are looking for a seat, we are not going to keep you at the back. We will give you a front seat. Please continue.
By at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. So, not more than one such motion may be made in the same sitting. So, I'm trying to bring a motion concerning what happened on Friday, between Friday and Saturday, where we lost about 21 security officers in the Sokoto East, that is in a town called Gangara in Sabon Birni. During this period, 15 soldiers were killed in cold blood, and the 3 mobile police were also killed, and the 3 civil defense forces were killed. Of course, some of them were able to run away to the neighboring Niger Republic.
That's the detail. Allow me, let's get the endorsement of our colleagues, then you do the something. I think that's enough for a synopsis. Distinguished colleagues, we have listened to our colleague, Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir. He wants the Senate to give him the opportunity to present a motion the next legislative day, that is tomorrow. On the matter, he just gave us a summary. So those in favor of his request say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. So you present your motion tomorrow. Point of order, Deputy Chief Whip, Senator Sabi Ali Abdullah.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I want to come under Order 42 and 52. With your leave, I may read.
You may proceed.
Order 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. Not more than one such motion may be made at the same sitting. Order 52. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Mr. President, as you may recall, from Friday up to today, Niger State witnessed a very serious blockade or lockdown by tanker drivers and truckers. And I want to present to this distinguished Hallowed Chamber the issue and for us to look at it as a national emergency.
You know, because you have come under Orders 42 and 52, that requires the endorsement of at least 1/5 of our colleagues here. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion by the Deputy Chief Whip under Orders 42 and 52, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Deputy Chief Whip, you may proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North. The state of federal roads in Niger State called for a state of emergency. This motion reads as follows. The Senate, with disbelief and shock, notes the very ugly scene playing out in Niger State since February 24th, September 2021, which is Friday, in which heavy trucks and tanker drivers blocked all entry and exit roads to protest the horrible state of federal roads passing through the state. The Senate recalled that Niger State has the longest federal roads network of 2,263 kilometers out of a total of 32,000 kilometers of national federal road network. The federal roads in Niger State stretched from Abuja Kaduna end to the Jeba Mokwa Makera Tegina Benengwari Kaduna Road to the Mokwa Nibusa Agwara Kibera end, which lies to the border with Benin Republic. Overall, the following critical linkage roads within Niger State provide logistical and vehicular movement between the north and the south, especially the southwest and northwest economic corridors. The roads are Zungeru Tegina Road, which is 34 kilometers, Bida Zungeru Road, which is 92 kilometers, Mina Western Bypass Road, which is 13.5 kilometers, Tegina Kaduna Road, 80 kilometers, Bokani Tegina Road, 115 kilometers. Wawa Kayama Road, 65 kilometers. Zungeru Mina Lambata Road, 143 kilometers. Kontagora Ibeto Yauri Road, 80 kilometers. Kontagora Tegina Road, 100 kilometers. Makwani Busa Kanji Dam Road, 100 kilometers. Makwa Junction Bida Road, 122 kilometers. Bida Lapai Lambata Road, which is currently under blockade, 125 kilometers. Lambata Junction Madala Road, 42 kilometers. Zuba Kaduna Road, 60 kilometers. Jaba Moka Bokani Road, 100 kilometers. Bokani Makera Kontagora Road, 86 kilometers. Rofia Swate Shegbana with border to Benin Republic, 121 kilometers. Wawa Rofia Road, 150 kilometers. Kanji Dam Nibusa Wawa Road, 32 kilometers. Kontagora Rijao Kebi Road, 113 kilometers. Agai Kacha Baro to FCT Border Road, 85 kilometers. Ibeto Auna Niwara Kebi Road, 75 kilometers. Minashiroro Dam Road, 60 kilometers. Kontagora Kotonkoro Road in Kebbi State, 111 kilometers. Bidda Sachi Nupeko Road, 52 kilometers. And the Guada Sarkin Power Kaduna Road, 63 kilometers. Because of the massive land area of Niger State, which is put at about 76,363 kilometers square, representing about 9% of the total land area of the country, all movements from north to south substantially traverse the state. Indeed, the massive haulage of heavy industrial goods, such as petroleum products, iron rods, cement, finished manufactured goods, machines and equipment, electronic materials and goods, building materials, etc., in which trucks and tankers are overloaded, put great pressure on the roads, and thus are seriously devastating to the state of the roads in Niger State. Costly observation and reports indicate that many trucks and tankers are loaded with up to 90,000 tons of goods, and all vehicles are consistently overloaded well above their approved tonnage. The Senate alarmed that all the major link roads have totally failed, with fatal accidents occurring on a daily basis with loss of life, goods, and vehicles. A development that angered the trucks and tanker drivers to begin the protest, as the only available alternative route to exit the state is the Bidamina Road, which is currently under construction. This road itself is a failed road with many portions that cannot withstand any heavy truck movement as it is. The Senate further alarmed that the only road portion that is substantially motorable is the Mokwa Junction to Bida Road, which is itself under intense pressure by the heavy-duty haulage activities of trucks and tankers, and may not last the next 2 years under the current scenario. The Kontagora Yauri Road is also motorable but hard to reach, hence the pressure on available state roads. The Senate disturbed that the current rate of funding of federal roads in the state is unfortunately dismal and cannot deliver, which has led to many of the projects abandoned by contractors. The result is continuous pressure on the few good ones. Indeed, it is very sad that the main trunk road from Jeba to Mokwa to Tegina to Kaduna has been completely abandoned, even though contracts have been awarded for the Jeba to Tegina section 1 and 2 since 2018, without funds sufficient to even mobilize the contractors. This is true also for Makera Kontagora Yauri Road, which has been awarded since 2013, Bida Lapai Lambata awarded since 2018, also, but poor funding means stalled work. The massive accidents and losses on this road were responsible for the current blockage in the state. The Senate agrees that the new ways and means for funding infrastructure in Nigeria must be seriously considered, while also strengthening enforcement in the issue of excess weight load by trucks and tankers, considering that over 90% of haulage of heavy goods are by road transport, pending when the ongoing train projects are delivered to ease the pressure. The Senate further agrees that the current blockage has seriously affected economic activities in the country, with heavy losses by investors and enterprises. It is therefore important that urgent and emergency measures are put in place to forestall further occurrences, while also considering a legislative roundtable on the state of transport infrastructure and institutional strengthening to support the economic diversification efforts and growth of the Nigerian economy. Prayers. Accordingly, the Senate resolved as follows. 1. Urge the federal government to declare a state of emergency on the critical roads in Niger State linking economic corridors in the north and south. 2, urge the federal government to direct the Ministry of Works, Federal Ministry of Works, to carry out emergency stabilization of the failed portions of Bida-Lapai-Lambata Road to ease the current suffering and rate of accident and loss of goods and investments on the road. 3, urge the federal government to consider an emergency intervention fund for the critical roads in Niger State to the tune of 300 billion to concurrently fix the roads as part of the infrastructure rehabilitation effort of the government to support ease of business and economic recovery across the country. 4, convoke a national legislative roundtable on the state of infrastructure for economic development, which will bring all critical stakeholders in the transport and logistic industries together with a view to identifying urgent action to address the current challenges. Mr. President, as we speak, information reaching us indicates that today, based on negotiations with critical stakeholders, the tanker drivers have eased their blockade and they've started moving. But the implication of this is that so much has happened in the last 4 days. Many businesses have lost their business, and of course, the loss is better seen than imagined. Mr. President, I so move.
Distinguished Senator Enagi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my highly respected, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Bima Muhammad Enagi. I represent the people of Niger South from Niger State. I rise to support the motion raised by my brother, the Deputy Chief Whip. You will recall, Mr. President, that sometime in 2019, a similar situation occurred in Niger State. There was blockage of most of our roads, stopping vehicles moving from the southwest to the northern part of the country and affecting economic activities. We raised a motion here in 2019 concerning the state of the roads in Niger State. We also held a press conference in 2019 calling on the government to do something about the state of roads in Niger State. Nothing serious has really happened since then. In 2020, the budgetary allocation to all the roads in Niger State was about 9 billion naira. This year, 2021, the budgetary allocation to all the roads in Niger State was 4.6 billion. The road contracts in Niger State are about 15. The total contract sum for all those projects is about 250 billion. Only about 60 billion had been paid. At the pace of the budgetary allocation to rehabilitate the roads in Niger State, it will take eternity to fix the roads in Niger State. Therefore, I support the motion by my brother that what we require is special intervention funding for the roads in Niger State. That is urgently required so that the roads in Niger State will be fixed to arrest the current situation, the economic downturn, the security challenges that this country is facing presently. I therefore move to support the motion by my brother. Thank you.
Senator Mohammed Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, my name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East. The Deputy Chief Whip have done a very wonderful presentation, and this is almost coming at the right time because the budget is about coming. We will all recall that the economy of Nigeria is an economy that was very monolithic. This time around, we tried to make agriculture to be one of our sources of income. And the burst of agricultural activities are within the hinterland, especially in Niger State, that we have the largest landmass in this country. Anytime we talked about construction or infrastructure, some of the lousy excuses we have is that we have 2 presidents that come from that state. But these are the 2 presidents that have done very well to other states. So don't we deserve to have a good thing in our states? our roads are in shambles. They are not motorable. So if the trailers decided to block Niger State roads, it's not just to Niger State, it's to the entire northern Nigeria. Because if you look at the axis from Ilorin, from Ilorin to Jeba, Mokwa, Makera, Tegina, to Bednungwari, up to Kaduna, heads to Kano and other northern Nigeria, Nigerian cities, the road on that side was the main road that contributes a lot. And that road was constructed almost 30 or 40 years ago. Since around 1973, that road was constructed and nothing more. But we can see that from Abuja to Makurdi, almost 56 billion naira was allocated for that road. 56 billion. And then you look at the road that we just mentioned, only 4.6 billion. Where is the equity? And what are the economic gains that comes out from this axis compared to the one that is coming from the Niger State axis, the Niger State corridor? So I call on the federal government, especially the Minister of Works, should realize that Nigeria is a large country and we need everywhere to be taken seriously. The Minister of Works is one-sided. He is one-sided. So what we need in this country is equal opportunity for every sector. Every sector of this country needs equal opportunity. I don't see the reason why other states would benefit from federal roads and Niger State will not have it. That is unfair. And I will call on the Senate to do the needful. The budget is coming and we are going to raise this issue again and we are going to appeal to the leadership to do the needful. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North. Mr. President, let me join my colleagues to express the displeasure of what is going on in Niger State road corridors as elaborated by the Deputy Chief Whip, my own brother, Senator Aliu Abdullahi Sabi. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, even though this event, the MP Center, was in Niger State, but what happened in the last few days affected every part of this country, especially in my own state. Just like the human circulatory system, any blockage in the veins leads to cardiovascular accidents and possible death. Blocking road network obviously leads to social, economic, and cultural accidents. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, what happened in the last few days led to several problems. Pregnant women, children were all blocked for days, living in the most difficult circumstances. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, if we know the kind of discombobulation that was created by that blockage, we will know that it's an issue that must be taken very seriously. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, given the number of roads that has been identified by the motion, these roads were all abandoned. Most of them have been awarded, but they are not being funded. Take, for example, Wawa to Kayama Road. This is a road that has been awarded for over 20-something billion. Until today, hardly 2 billion have been allocated for that road. It therefore means that that road might take decades to be concluded. Like my colleagues have said, this another budget year, we look forward to proper funding of these road networks so as to stimulate our economy, reduce the suffering for our people. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I therefore support this motion wholeheartedly. Thank you.
We'll go to the prayers. Prayer 1. Urge the federal government to declare a state of emergency on the critical roads in Niger State linking economic corridors in the north and south. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Urge the federal government to direct the Federal Ministry of Works to carry out emergency stabilization of the failed portions of Bida Lapai, Lambata Road to ease the current suffering and rate of accidents and loss of goods and investments on the road. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3. Urge the federal government to consider an emergency intervention fund for the critical roads in Niger State to the tune of 300 billion naira to concurrently fix the roads as part of the infrastructure rehabilitation efforts of the government to support ease of business and economic recovery across the country. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4. Convoke a national legislative roundtable on the state of infrastructure for economic development, which will bring all critical stakeholders in the transport and logistics industries together with a view to identifying urgent actions to address the current challenges. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
President, point of order.
Point of order, Senator Aleko Mustafa.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm Mali for Mustafa Ogun East. I'm coming under order 42 and 52, Mr. President. With your kind permission, may I read, sir?
I can't hear you.
I said I'm coming under order 42 and 52. With your kind permission, can I read, please?
Yeah, you may read.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. Not more than one such motion may be made at the same sitting. Let me quickly go to order 52, sir. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present.
You may proceed. No. Have you finished the synopsis? Okay, I have to put the question now. They said you have not submitted this, you have not presented the synopsis, the summary, not the motion itself. You are reading the motion, that is the motion. No, you just give a summary of exactly what you want to present, and then we get the endorsement.
To embark on emergency repairs of roads across the country, sir.
Okay, distinguished colleagues, we have listened to our colleague, Senator Aleko Mustafa. He has come under orders 42 and 52, and the subject matter is the rehabilitation of federal roads across the country, which is similar to what we have just listened to about Niger State, state of Niger State roads. Those in favor that we allow him to present the motion now, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may present the motion, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. An urgent need for the Ministry of Works and Housing to embark on emergency repairs of badly damaged roads and bridges affected by heavy downpours recently experienced across the country. The Senate notes that the recent heavy rainfall experienced across the country in the months of August and September has caused severe damages to roads and bridges in different areas of the country. Further notes that no zone or part of the country is spared. From the north to the south is a tale of woes. Bridges and culverts have been submerged. Roads have been washed away, and accesses to towns and cities across the nation have been cut off due to the inaccessibility of the affected roads and bridges. Worried that this existential threat is posing a danger to human safety and causing significant disruption to both economic and social activities. Also worried that motorists are enduring untold hardship and the security of lives and properties of Nigerians are no longer guaranteed. Therefore, deems it very important and necessary as a matter of urgency for the Ministry of Works and Housing to immediately commence emergency repairs of the worst affected roads and bridges nationwide. Accordingly resolved to call on the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and Budget to release funds for emergency repairs to the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to carry out immediate repairs of the affected roads.
Susam, please, Senator Susam, stop disturbing Senator Aisha Dairo Ahmed.
On all the badly affected roads and bridges nationwide. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chief Whip, the chamber is a bit, no, the distinguished colleagues, let's speak in low tones, please. You may continue, please. Finished. Senator Mohamed Adam Aleru.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Mohamed Adam Aleru, representing Kebbi Central. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Mustafa Olalekon. Mr. President, it is true that as a result of heavy downpour of rains, culverts and bridges have been washed away. Roads are now difficult to pass because of serious erosion. This motion is similar to the one moved by Senator Sabi Abdullahi. The only difference is that his own is concerned about Niger State, but this one covers the whole country. From the north to south, wherever you go, you find bridges being blown up, culverts have been blown up, roads have been washed away as a result of heavy erosion arising from heavy downpour. So, Mr. President, the amount we have in the budget is not enough to embark on immediate repairs. There is need for Ministry of Finance to set certain amount for emergency repairs in every budget. Call this contingency fund for repairs of roads every year. If we don't do this, we'll continue to have this problem. So I will urge this Senate to set certain amount, lump sum amount for immediate repairs in case of emergency. And if we do this, it will go a long way in helping the Ministry of Works and Housing to embark on repairs. Right now, Mr. President, it is difficult to pass goods from north to south. Perishable items have rot away. Tomatoes, onions, yams that are supposed to be transported from the north to the south cannot be transported. Construction companies are finding it difficult to transport their goods from the south to the north because the roads are in bad shape. As we heard from Senator Sabi, some trailers have been lying on for over 3 to 4 weeks waiting for the roads to be repaired. And it will take quite a long time to do this. So the story is the same everywhere you go. In the northeast, from Bauchi to Yola, the same story. In the northwest, the roads are in bad shape as a result of erosion. In the southeast, the same story. We had what happened in the north central. So I support this motion, and I also support the prayers that the Ministry of Finance should immediately release funds for immediate repairs, and the Ministry of Works to embark on immediate repairs of this road. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Comrade Sumata Demi.
Mr. President, I must thank you for always appreciating that we are still very much in this struggle. Mr. President, I rise to join this, to give support to this motion. And in supporting this motion, Mr. President, I want to say that there is no doubt that good road network is very critical to economic development and emancipation of our people. Taking a look at, not of course until very recent, a few days ago, that we had a bit of increase in the price of crude oil. Nigeria was at the crossroad economically. And today, Mr. President, we are making some bit of increase from the benchmark of the crude oil. That I think the time has come, and this is the appropriate time, Mr. President, for us to emphasize the need for additional funding for rehabilitation and construction of roads across the length and breadth of our nation. Mr. President, when my good friend and colleague raised the issue of the poor state of road in Niger State, particularly, Mr. President, in North Central, which is the birth of our nation. All the roads in my territory, from Kaba to Ilorin today, you have to go through Ekiti State, that is crossing from the North Central to the Southwest before you can navigate Ilorin. Now, Mr. President, I had the privilege of carrying out the assignment you gave to me to represent you in Okene. Mr. President, by the time I came back from Okene to Lokoja, I couldn't proceed to Abuja. I had to go to the mechanic workshop. Just from Okene to Lokoja, the road is very unmotorable. And you dare not travel at night there because criminals take the advantage of the poor state of road, despite the huge billions of money that is being channeled towards security from my state government. Yesterday, the contractor that was awarded to construct Ayetoro to Abugi to Shuku in Kogi State, the man came to me and said 600 million naira was provided for him in the budget of a contract of 25 billion awarded by the federal government. When I met the Minister of Works, he said that's what is available. So, Mr. President, the problem of road construction in Nigeria is a very serious matter. We must take a decisive position before the budget comes as to whether we want good road network or not. In another 1.5 years from now, a lot of politicians will get crossing, traveling. Criminals will take advantage of the poor state of road, not to talk of the farmers who cannot move freely. Mr. President, I think our chamber will do Nigeria a great good of favor and deal and commitment. If before the budget comes, Mr. President, you let us sit down and look at how do we fund roads in Nigeria. Roads are critical for goods and services and emancipation and movement of people. Once you do not have a good road, the economy will be stagnant, the economy will easily collapse. Mr. President, I think this motion is a motion that all of us will support. Across the length and breadth of our nation today, many of the roads are bad, not because they are not actually, they were not constructed well, but today there's economy and climate change. We have more downpour now, the rains are more heavier than before. So I think I want to submit, Mr. President, the solution is very simple. Mr. President, like it's done in some advanced nations, where you have heavy downpour, you can do concrete road. And we have iron and steel complex, Ajakuta. If we allow iron and steel complex to produce, it will be cheaper to get a rod, iron for construction, and we have cement factory. We have a Dangote factory. We have many cement companies in Nigeria. Let us look at the possibility of jettisoning this asphalt road construction. Let us go into cement and concrete and iron. This is what is done in the southern part of America. Let us use the resources we have to liberate ourselves from the problem of road to a problem in Nigeria. I also submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Kabir Barkia, Katana Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, Katsina Central. Let me first of all commend the mover of the motions, both from Niger State and also from Ogun State. Mr. President, I have this to add that, of course, not only in Niger State or maybe Ogun that the Nigerian roads are bad. I can say almost all over the country, nothing less than 50% of Nigerian roads are good. So, Mr. President, this is a critical, sector. We have to look into it so that, yes, definitely something serious will be done. Last week, I think I saw a bill for Federal Road Authority and also Federal Road Fund. Of course, this bill has been lingering for almost, I can say, 25 years. There was agitation for this Federal Road Authority. A Federal Road Authority, it will be authority under which all the roads construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, and maintenance will be under that authority. And also Federal Road Fund. And this Federal Road Fund Authority is in charge of getting funds for the continuous, at least maintenance, construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation of the Nigerian roads. So unless that issue is visited, and of course it has been passed assented, this problem will continue forever. Because there's no single source of getting fund for the maintenance and rehabilitation of our roads in this country. So we have to look at it seriously. This time around, I hope, of course, since the bill maybe is from the executive, we hope it will see the light of the day. Unless this is done, Mr. President, please, I assure you that for next decades, the Nigerian roads will be in a bad condition. So therefore, definitely we have to make sure that we do something, because it's a very good sector that, yes, unless it is good, then the transportation of the country will be in good condition. Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll go to the prayer, please. Call on the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and Budget. Is it to release funds for emergency repair? Call on the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and Budget to release funds for emergency repair. Is that the... Okay, those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Is that the only prayer? Okay. Urge the Minister of Works and Housing to immediately commence emergency repair works on all the badly affected roads and bridges nationwide. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, thank you.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Emmanuel Yisa Okajem on Cyber Crimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Cyber Crimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 561, first reading.
Cyber Crimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 561, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator George Sekibo on the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, Cap A18, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Arbitration and Conciliation Act, Cap A18, LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 564, first reading.
Arbitration and Conciliation Act, Cap A18, LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 564, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Roches Anayo Okorocha on the Federal University of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, ABO, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, ABO, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 783, first reading.
Federal University of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, ABO, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 783, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari on the Community Health Practitioners Registration Act, CAP C-19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
President, distinguished senators, Community Health Practitioners Registration Act, CAP C-19 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 795, first reading.
Community Health Practitioners Registration Act, CAP C-19 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 795, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Muhammad Sani Musa on the Self-Employment Funding and Social Security Guarantee Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Self-Employment Funding and Social Security Guarantee Bill 2021, SB 813, first reading.
Self-Employment Funding and Social Security Guarantee Bill 2021, SB 813, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Health, that is secondary and tertiary, on the Federal Medical Center Owutu Edda Establishment, etc. Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 2nd December 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. I rise to move that the Senate will receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal Medical Center Owutu Edda Establishment Bill 2021, SB 295. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Distinguished Senator Degi Bio Barakuma. Amarenyo.
Profound respect, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Degi Bio Barakuma Iranian. I represent Bayelsa East Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion that the reports on an act to provide for a legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center Owutu Edda and for related matters Establishment Bill 2021, as presented by my distinguished brother Senator Oloregbe, and I so second. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, Those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. You may present the report now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, as stated by the leader of the Senate at the sitting on Wednesday, 2nd December 2020, read for the second time the bill for an act to provide for the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center Utu-Eda and for later matters therewith, and refers him to our Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary for further legislative action. The bill, sponsored by Senator Michael Inachi, seeks to provide a legal backing for the establishment of Federal Medical Center in Utu-Eda by upgrading the existing General Hospital of Utu-Eda to a Federal Medical Center, thereby acquiring no financial obligation to the federal government as a result of the upgrade. From the information gathered at the public hearing, the committee had a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill and came up with a recommendation as contained in this report. Our observation, Mr. President, is that every bill needs to be backed by an enabling law. It's against this background that this bill is before this chamber. The establishment of the Federal Medical Center in Utu-Eda is informed by the need to bridge the existing gap between primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare delivery in Ebonyi State and Nigeria as a whole. There is the need to bring tertiary care closer to the people, which bill seeks to achieve. Our recommendation, Mr. President, is that after a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, which is made of 28 clauses, a short title and a explanatory memorandum, the committee submits as follows: an amendment of clause 1 to 3, 9, 10, and the explanatory memorandum, and retention of the remaining clause 4 to 8 and 11 to 27, and the schedule. In conclusion, Mr. President, the committee would like to thank the Senate President, Deputy Senate President, and the entire Senate leadership and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity given us to serve in this capacity. I so submit, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, I rise to a motion for the Senate to resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this bill has 28 clauses. Those in favor that clauses 1 and 2 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3 is on page 2. Membership of the board. Clause 4, tenure of office. Those in favor that clauses 3 and 4 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5, cessation of membership Clause 6, allowances of members, and Clause 7, functions of the board, all retained. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes. Clause 8, powers of the board. Clause 9, medical director of the medical center. And Clause 10, appointment of directors. Those in favor that clauses 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11, service in the medical center. Clause 12, establishment of the medical advisory committee. And Clause 13, fund of the medical center. Those in favor that clauses 11, 12, and 13 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 14, expenditure of the medical center. Clause 15, power to accept gifts. And Clause 16, annual estimates and expenditure. Those in favor that clauses 14, 15, and 16 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 17, annual report. Clause 18, power to borrow. Clause 19, exemption from tax. Those in favor that clauses 17, 18, and 19 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 20, exemption from customs, custom duties. Clause 21, discipline of students. Clause 22, Clause 22, removal and discipline of clinical, administrative, and technical staff. Those in favor that clauses 20, 21, and 22 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 23, discipline of senior staff. Clause 24, regulations. Clause 25, power to give directives. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 26, transition and savings provision. Clause 27, interpretation. And Clause 28, short title. Those in favor that clauses 26, 27, and 28 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for the Senate to resume plenary for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Health on the Federal Medical Center Owutu EDDA Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clauses 1 to 26 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedule as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that this bill be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center, Outa Edda, and for related matters 2021, SB 295, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center, Outa Edda, and for related matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations, Leader.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of an executive bill standing in my name on the Copyright Act, Cap C-28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 7th July 2021. Mr. President, with your permission, I move that the bill be read the second time.
You may proceed, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, it is my pleasure and delight to lead the debate on the general principles of the Bill for an Act to repeal the Copyright Act, Cap C-28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and to reenact the Copyright Act 2021. This is an executive bill which seeks to repeal the Copyright Act, Cap C-28, 2004, and reenact the Copyright Act 2021 for a holistic review of the policy and legal framework for copyright protection in Nigeria. You will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 7th July 2021. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigerian copyright industries comprising of the creative industries such as Nollywood and broadcasting industry, the music industry, the fashion industry, the book publishing industry, the arts industry, and Nigeria's emerging software and apps industry have been emaciated by a weak Copyright Act of 1988 as amended. Since the coming into force of that decree, Nigeria has not had a holistic review of its laws for copyright protection. This is in spite of the fact that many substantial advances have been made in the industry in Nigeria and globally. Indeed, due to the innovative spirit of Nigerians, this sector has witnessed tremendous growth in recent times. Hence, a review of the Act has become necessary in order for the sector to become one of the nation's economic growth poles and economic drivers. The weakness of the existing Act has led to the closure of many businesses. Many Nigerian creators have died and became emaciated because of the harm occasioned by piracy and the weak mechanisms offered by the existing legal framework and successive government's inactivity to sufficiently fund the Nigerian Copyright Commission. Time and again, stakeholders in the Nigerian copyright community have called for the amendment of the copyright law in line with the new opportunities and advances in modern technologies in order to strengthen their piracy and other penalties. There have been no follow-up action in terms of amendments to the Copyright Act 1988, which was promulgated in 1999, that is more than 22 years ago. More significantly, the emergence of digital technologies revolutionized the creative economy as production and dissemination of economic works become more accessible and lend themselves to global exploitation beyond national boundaries. Section 16, subsection 1A of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, enjoins the government to promote national prosperity and an efficient, dynamic, and self-reliant economy. But this can only be done if adequate and appropriate legislative instruments are put in place. This bill, therefore, seeks to bring the Copyright Act in tandem with the current realities and will, among other things, achieve the following. 1. It will strengthen the copyright regime in Nigeria to enhance the competitiveness of its creative industries in a digital and knowledge-based global economy. 2. It will effectively protect the rights of authors, creative artists, and digital industry entrepreneurs and inventors to ensure that they have good and just rewards and recognition of their intellectual efforts, while also providing appropriate limitations and exceptions to guarantee access to creative works, encourage cultural interchange, technological development, while advancing public welfare. Number 3, it will facilitate Nigeria's compliance with obligations arising from relevant international copyright treaties and engagements. 4, it will enhance the capacity of the Nigerian Copyright Commission for effective administration and enforcement of the provisions of the Copyright Act. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will all recall that before this executive bill, the Senate debated excessively the copyright bill sponsored by our distinguished Senator, Senator Abiru, and it was referred to the same Committee of Trade and Investment. This bill should be harmonized by the same committee into a single document for eventual passage into law. I therefore move that this bill be read a second time for further legislative action. I so move and thank you for your attention.
Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I was the Kano North in this August City. Mr. President, I stand to support this bill because the bill, the intent of the bill is to salvage an already bad situation. A situation where the intellectual property rights of citizens are not protected. They are left in the hands of criminals who day in, day out try to explore the advantages, the economic advantages associated with this property, intellectual property rights of people to their advantages. Mr. President, there are a lot of Nigerians, particularly our youth, who are endowed with a lot of, they have various capacity in terms of bringing out innovations, technological innovations. Some are artists, some have made their names in the entertainment industry. All the time we see how their rights, their properties are being stolen from them by way of piracy, by way of duplicating what they've done without paying them what is due to them. I think this bill will go a long way to survey the situation by strengthening the law that will protect their rights in this regard. It is important that we understand that the world is changing, that we have gotten a lot of changes between 1999 to date when the first law was created, and so the need to reshape this law so as to meet the current challenges that the people involved in this that are being cheated, that have been ripped off by some unscrupulous Nigerians, will find a way to protect their rights. So I think this bill is apt and it needs the support of all and sundry. I therefore urge our colleagues to support this bill so as to help the people that need to be protected, whose intellectual property rights have been infringed upon day in, day out. It's a way of helping the economy at large. When we do this, we strengthen the system in terms of protecting the rights of individuals that are so affected by what these people are doing, which also strengthens our economy. Because when we support Nollywood in this regard, Kannywood in this regard, we're helping these young Nigerians to strengthen their profession so as to help themselves, to help the employees, and help the economy at large. I say submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ajibola Basiru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru, representing Osun Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic, I rise to give support for second reading of this very important bill. Our copyright is an important property right, particularly among the genus of what is called intellectual property rights. The extant legal regime is not only old, is obsolete and totally incapable of protecting the copyright that it actually set to do. And I also say that the potentials in terms of economic benefits, not only to individual creators of the intellectual property, but also to the Nigerian economy, cannot be overemphasized. Particularly in the past 22 years when the extant law was passed, there have been monumental developments in the area of materials that are qualified for copyright. In this period too, we have also seen a situation whereby the administration of copyright in Nigeria has become just a matter that is the statute book, lame duck, and incapable of ensuring effective protection of copyright. We have seen a situation whereby Nigerians have not only lost their investment in terms of intellectual capability, but even the costs that they have put in place to ensure that those works come into reality. Nigeria has become a country where intellectual materials copyright will be done today, and in a matter of a week, from some countries, they will bring in trailer loads of those materials to be sold at cheap prices. So I want to say that this bill is a step in the right direction, particularly the need to make the administration of copyright to be very effective. Without this, we will not be able to join the Committee of Nations in deriving maximum benefit from knowledge economy that appear to be more lucrative than even oil and gas that all of us seek rentier economy. Therefore, I'm delighted to support that this bill be read the second time, and also to urge the relevant committees to ensure that we give expeditious consideration of this bill. And this bill will also be a testimony of the commitment of the Ninth Senate to ensure that we make our law to be in reality with development, particularly in terms of expansion of the economy. The Companies and Other Matter Act was reformed by this Ninth Senate. The Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act has also been reformed after about 2 decades. So the Copyright Act must immediately follow. I thank you, Mr. President.
Is there anyone against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Copyright Act Cap C 28 LFN 2004 and to reenact the Copyright Act 2021 and for matters connected therewith 2021 SB 769 second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Copyright Act Cap C 28 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and to reenact the Copyright Act 2021 and for matters connected therewith 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Trade and Investment to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Electricity Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Thursday, 8 October 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Gabriel Suswam to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Gabriel Suswam.
Mr. President, my name is Dr. Gabriel Suswam, representing Benue North East Senatorial Constituency of Benue State. Mr. President, distinguished honorable colleagues, this bill, as stated by the leader, was read for the first time on Thursday, 8th day of October 2020. Mr. President, this bill seeks to, among other things, repeal the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005, consolidate all legislations in the Nigerian electricity supply industry, and enact an omnibus Electricity Act for the industry to provide the ideal legal institutional framework that will guide the post-privatization phase of the industry in Nigeria. The bill also seeks to provide a framework that would attract more investors to leverage on the modest gains of the privatized electricity industry in Nigeria to accelerate growth in power generation capacity and improve utilization of generated power through increased investment in new technologies that would enhance transmission and distribution generated power and minimize aggregate value chain losses. Mr. President, the background, distinguished colleagues, the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005, hereinafter referred to as the Principal Act, provide a legal and institutional framework for the reform of the NESI initiated and implemented by the federal government between 2001 and 2023. Mr. President, the act which now operates is a reform act. It was to enable the federal government at that time unbundle the sector. That has been done. So we need to move forward. The framework made possible by the Principal Act and other policy measures provided for the physical unbundling of the National Electricity Power Authority, NEPA, into 18 successor companies, while 17 of these successor companies have been licensed by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission as distinct privatized generation and distribution companies. The Transmission Company of Nigeria remains state-owned. Furthermore, 3 agencies have been established, namely the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which is the apex regulator for the NESI, the Nigerian Electricity Management Service, NEMSA, to carry out the functions of enforcement of technical standards and regulation, including testing, certification, inspections of electrical installations to ensure safety, and the Rural Electrification Agency, REA, responsible for coordination and implementation of rural electrification. The Principal Act also made it possible for the establishment of a bulk trader, the Nigerian Electricity Bulk Trading PSC, and the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company, NEMCO, to assume responsibility for all the liabilities that were inherited from NEPA to PCN. Mr. President, because it's bulk, I will just abridge it. The President, distinguished colleagues, in spite of the modest milestone recorded in the Nigerian power sector through the reform exercise, the sector has not been able to meet the target of making electricity available to 75% rural and urban population by 2020, as envisaged in the National Electricity Power Policy. This is because the sector is currently plagued by a number of challenges, some of which are operational constraints that emerged after the privatization exercise, while others may be attributed to the gaps inherent in the extant statutory framework, which we now operate. With respect to the operational constraint, the privatized power sector in Nigeria is facing a myriad of post-privatization challenges, including the absence of cost-reflective tariffs, inadequate enumerations and metering of consumers, limited access to funds for investment, high level of aggregate technical and commercial losses, poor revenue generation and tariff deficit. All these constraints have received various interventions by the executive and legislative arms of federal government over the years. but these challenges have continued to threaten the viability of successor companies, including their financial capacity to invest in network improvement to guarantee reliable power supply as envisaged in their respective performance agreement. Apart from the operational constraint confronting the post-privatized power sector in Nigeria, the Principal Act, which is the extant legal framework for the industry, is fraught with gaps and shortcomings that makes it unsuitable for to adequately govern activities of the market operator and market participant in the post-privatized phase of the industry. For instance, Part 1 of the Principal Act, comprising sections 1 to 24, and several other provisions of the Principal Act, have been exhaustively applied for the reform exercise and therefore redundant. Mr. President, about 30 sections of the extant law which are now operate are totally invalid and redundant. So there is an absolute need for us to come up with a new Electricity Act. Similarly, there is a need to consolidate all legislation in the power sector into one electricity statute in order to align regulatory responsibilities and ensure clarity of statutory roles for ease of compliance with regulatory requirements for operators. Most of these challenges highlighted above have amongst others, are not unknown to my distinguished colleagues, as the Senate had on several occasions debated on motions and passed resolutions towards addressing some of these challenges. It is noteworthy that while many Nigerians applaud the modest milestones recorded by Nigeria during the reform phase of the power sector, there are many others who, on account of the current challenges facing the power sector, have questioned the rationale for the privatization of the power asset. Such mixed reactions are not unexpected for an industry in transition. What is, however, required at this point, distinguished colleague, is an ideal legal framework that will stimulate the deployment of relevant regulatory and policy measures that will accelerate growth in power generation capacity, improve utilization of generated power through increased investment in new technologies that will enhance transmission and distribution of generated power. This, among other objectives, are provided under Section 1 of this bill and what the bill is intended to achieve. We'll take to 4.0, I jump to 301 to 4.0, the structure of the bill, Mr. President. In crafting this bill, extreme care was taken to ensure that all issues that require policy, regulations, and statutory guidance in the Nigerian power sector were properly and comprehensively articulated, and a rigorous process involving industry-wide process culminating into the draft bill. In terms of the structure, the bill is made up of 213 sections, subdivided into 21 parts and 5 schedules. Mr. President, I'll move to the next page, and colleagues can read so that I don't bore you. Let me just go straight to the conclusion, because the next paragraph just deal with what is encapsulated in each of the sections. As I think you can read it. So let me just go to the conclusion, Mr. President. In conclusion, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that sequel to a resolution of this distinguished Senate, a roundtable was held in Abuja to brainstorm on the ways of addressing the problems confronting the Nigerian power sector. This bill should be seen as part of the required legislative intervention needed to reposition the Nigerian power sector to perform optimally, because the passage of the bill will pave well for the required policy and regulatory measures that will attract investment of more than 4 billion across the power value chain between now and 2030, thereby enhancing the prospect of increasing Nigerian electricity power per capita consumption to the highest in the West African sub-region within the same period. Mr. President, in compliance with Order 77 sub 3 of the Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended. The proposed bill has no additional financial burden on the treasury of the federal government if passed into law. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill for the second reading. Mr. President, I so submit.
Thank you, Senator Aishatu Dairo Ahmed Binani.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Aishat Dairo Ahmed Binani, representing Adama Central. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the bill before us today is so important that I wish to call it the Bill of the Year. This is so because electricity is so important in the life of a nation and its people, and is one single most important infrastructure that can make a nation to remain backward or underdeveloped, or can make a nation to be most top developed. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, Mr. President, regrettably that from colonial days to now, electricity supply in our country has continuously remained below our optimal requirement in spite of the huge investment in the sector and the sacrifice by the federal government. We've heard from the lead debate the challenges facing the sector and which is still facing the sector, and the modest intervention by the legislature and the executive arm of the government to solve the pathetic situation. As commendable as those moves are, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is a known fact that we are still not yet there. So I want to believe that this Electricity Bill 2021 will address the post-privatization issue, promote investment in the sector, to increase supply and availability of electricity, and the imperative necessity to consolidate all the dispute of legislature bearing the legal and regulatory framework for generating, transmitting, and distribution of electricity in our country. Having said that, Mr. President, I wish to draw the attention of the promoter of the bill not to be silent on the power plants which are established under the National Integrated Power Project that was transferred, whose ownership was transferred to the Niger Delta Power Holding Companies, which were supposed to be privatized, and then the proceeds to be used to set up hydroelectricity power plants, so that to increase power output and to also diversify the source of our energy in the country, and also that can reduce our carbon emission, and then the country's carbon credit will now be used for those issues concerned. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, like I said earlier on, this is one bill that is supposed to be called the Bill of the Year. So I support this bill and I urge all my colleagues to do same. Thank you very much.
Senator Chukwuka Utazi, Enugu North.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, may I, on behalf of this Senate, thank the chairman of Committee on Power with his colleagues for coming up with this bill set to solve the problems we have handled, or that we have addressed that challenge the Nigerians in as far as our power needs of the country are concerned. Mr. President, you remember that at the onset of this administration, of this new 9th Assembly, I brought a well-researched motion that is a precursor to all they are doing in this industry with regards to this bill that is before us here today. So I want to thank them because they did not sleep. After the round table that followed that my motion, They have moved step forward by coming up with something enduring that is going to solve the problem, the challenge we have with energy needs of this country. This country cannot move forward without, or like I should say, the economy of this country cannot be private sector driven until we address the issue of the power needs here. Because most of our people, most companies that are producing and doing things in this country have taken flight to neighboring countries, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire and all that. Because of the trouble we have here, they cannot buy and fund their equipment, their machineries, their industries. Purchasing diesel is gone out of hand. A liter of diesel in this country today goes about almost 300 naira per liter. And there's no company that can do anything here that can make things work. We are saying that naira is, the value of naira is nowhere, have hit the rooftop. You cannot bring down naira when you have to address the issue of manufacturing by this country. Once we are, everything we are doing here is concerned with consumption, importing and importing. There's no way you can do it. There's no answer to it. The only way to do it is to get things done here. And that is what this bill is addressing. And that's why I started first of all by thanking Suswan and his committee for coming this forward. So I won't want to say more, but all I say that I'm in support of this stand taken by this committee and ask them to give it accelerated handling by doing the public hearing fast enough before the budget start coming here. If we do this well, we will move this country forward. And I thank this committee, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. Thank you so much.
Senator Kola Balogun.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this bill, not because I'm a member of the committee, or because it's indeed an omnibus bill. Most of the laws as we have them on the book at present are obsolete. Most of them are not modern day business compliant. And unless we put our power sector house in order, there is no way we can leverage on our potentials as a nation, both human and material potentials. Mr. President, uninterrupted power supply in any nation is as important as life itself. This is because modern day world has become so mechanical, such that unless we put our power sector in order by putting a legal framework that will be attractive to foreign investors and domestic investors, there is no way we can use those potential to generate employment, to generate revenue, and to move our economic sector forward. Mr. President, all our sectors have been affected by this unstable power situation. Talk about agriculture, which we need to diversify the economy. There's no way we can add value to our agriculture sector, to our agricultural produce, when we don't have constant power supply. There's no way we can have the modern day education sector. I recall the day the Power Committee visited Abuja, University of Abuja, when we inspected the dedicated power line that was installed by the Ministry of Power. The Vice Chancellor was actually giving us a brief, and he was telling us that now that they have this dedicated power line, the university is now saving 30 million naira a month as a result of reduction in consumption of diesel. So it's affecting every segment of our life. Foreign direct investors will not come in unless they have a legal framework that is attractive. Domestic investors will not be encouraged unless they have a legal framework that is attractive. Therefore, Mr. President, I'm wholeheartedly in support of this bill, and I want to encourage all my colleagues to please support it so that we can at least begin to put our powerhouse in order. I thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Chukwuka Ibezim. Ibezim.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to lend my voice to yet another opportunity for us as a country to get it right. Almost every Nigerian knows that the major challenge we have in this country is the challenge of not having the right power supply in the station. Whether it's in the manufacturing or whether it's in the agricultural, it takes power for a country to develop. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman of this great committee. We've gone through part of this bill, but I'm asking that all senators should look in, because once we put this bill together and get it right, most of the challenges we have in the power sector will be laid to rest. The importance of this bill cannot be overemphasized. The bill is very timely. Nigeria is in a crossroad, and the major challenge we have, I believe, as a nation, is to solve this power challenge. I thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. I thank you, my colleagues. And I ask that we should all come together and support it and move it as fast as possible. Thank you.
Senator Francis Fadausi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name remains Senator Francis Adeniba Fadausi, Osun East. I wholeheartedly support the bill right from day of inception, because we have been shouting, and God so kind, the chairman and the committee were able to produce this bill. Why we are agitating is that we are all from villages concentrated in Abuja. What is going on in the village is alarming. And this bill now, this bill will be able to tackle or review the original contract of 204-206, that these things have been given to Nigerian private investors. The bill will review it. And the GENCO, the DISCO, and everything, the bill will be able to review whether to reallocate to the engineers, whether foreign or Nigerians, who are serious about this giving us light. The other one is the transmission. The bill has already taken note of putting a right candidate, a right engineer in charge of managing all our power outfits, so that at least we'll be able to be giving direct power to all our industries. Most importantly, the bill will be able to give us enough energy to bring in those people who will manage, who will give us 40 kV megawatts in Mambila project, which is now almost moribund. In Kogi, we have a lot of industries there that will be managed by our engineers, particularly supplying them. Automatically, we'll be able to generate that one. For all this and others that have been mentioned that could not be repeated, I wholeheartedly support this bill, and I urge my colleague to support and pass the bill. Thank you.
Senator Matthew Urogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Matthew Urogide, Edo South. Mr. President, I want to join my teaming colleagues in supporting this bill. My support for this bill, Mr. President, is that this bill is akin to what we have seen or what we saw in the PIB that was eventually passed by this assembly. The power sector, Mr. President, over the years has been of great concern to every well-meaning Nigerian. And the Nigerian Parliament from 1999 was equally very worried and tried as much as possible to reorganize the power sector. Mr. President, you will recall that the government that was in place in 2012 was the one that made the first roadshow, and then of course got the first external loan of 1 billion to intervene in the power sector. They came up with the gas to power program. That program never worked because we did not have any institutional framework that will control the investment in the power sector. Even though NEPA had been unbundled and all the agencies that were created, particularly agencies that were responsible, for intervention between power generating, bodies, the GENCOs, and the ones that were doing distribution, the DISCOs. An organization, like MBED, were put in place and said a huge sums of money deployed to these agencies because we did not have a subsisting, viable legal framework. These agencies have not been able to do anything. So, Mr. President, I'm standing up to lend my voice to it that just like we have done in the petroleum sector, the power sector is equally very important. This bill now will cure all the inadequacies that we have seen over time, so that any investments, particularly this time that this country is borrowing, let it be that these investments will be properly tailored and guided because of the framework, that we put in place by the provision of this bill. When it is passed and assented into law, of course, just like the bill has said, apart from our own investment, local investment, foreign investors too will come in and invest in the power sector in this country. And of course, I think it's better for all of us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa from Niger East. I stand to support this bill, and I believe that we will all support it, because power is one of the main catalysts of any economic prowess of a country. We take a cue with countries like Malaysia and China. We have a lot of rivers in this country, but the framework is not there. If there is reform in the power sector today, most of our rivers that are drying up today, we can make best use of them by turning them to hydros, thereby harvesting the water. And from there, we can make small hydros that will produce 10, 15 megawatts, and our problems will be solved. The industrialization will take, more effective way of turning the economy than it is today. If you look at the PIA that we have passed, the petroleum industry bill, acts that were passed, and looked at the energy sector today, you will see that we need reform, because the gas that we are going to use to power some of the turbines that will produce this energy also, investors that will bring their money here will also want to see how far has the power sector gone in terms of legislation. So if we do it, I think it will help this country. And the ongoing projects as well. Most of these projects have been abandoned. But if there is this reform, and those that have also acquired these assets will now see that, yes, there is some areas that they can be checked, and serious areas, not unlike what is happening today. So I believe that we need to reform this sector, and there is no better time to do it than now. And I appeal to all my colleagues to see reason to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. I would like to use this opportunity to thank Dr. Saswan for bringing this very important bill. This is because with the current power reform bill we have, there is no way Nigeria can make it like any other nation. Because if you look at it, when we look at the condition under which we are operating, for now, you only have about, maybe, if you look at Nigeria entirely, about 24 watts to use. While in other countries like South Korea, they are having about 2,000 watts to use. So I think there is need to look at some of these issues. If you look at the whole thing, maybe we started around 1958 with all this ECN. And in that, during that period, most of these countries that we are talking about, they had nothing called electricity. But today they are one of the best in terms of production of electricity. But I believe with this bill, that is electricity bill, we will look at a situation whereby we can be able to come up with something that is going to work for this country so that we can have professionals inside who will look at the situation and then follow it to the letter and make sure that at the end of the day, we have everything we want and we have all what it takes to produce electricity in this country. Because the way it is, certainly, we are failing because we are not doing what we are supposed to do. So I therefore support this bill and I hope everybody will support it so that at the end of the day, we will have a speedy passage of this bill. And I also want to ask Dr. Saswan, when they are going to do the public hearing, please try to involve the Academy of Engineering, the Fellowship of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, so that they can come together and then sit down and come up with something that is going to be workable for the whole nation. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Senator Baroju.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Baroju Ben. I am the record note. Mr. President, let me first of all support or commend the sponsor of this bill and also state the fact that I support it in its entirety. Mr. President, we all know as a fact that electricity is a fundamental requirement for industrialization. If you do not have it right in terms of getting the available electricity in the system, you know that you can't get it right in terms of getting the required industrialization as you may want to have in your economic system. We know as a fact that we are lagging behind in terms of having the required electricity in this country. Therefore, any law that will be brought into play to enhance electricity in this country should be welcome. I say this as a Nigerian, as a senator representing the people of Kano, where we have this problem of lack of electricity to power our industrial base. And this is the reason why majority of the industrial concerns we have in Kano are no longer up and running. So also, we have the same problem in this country at large. My understanding is that when we have this law established, it will help in no small measure to bring in investors to invest more in the sector. This is very, very important. And to also modernize the system. We need to do this, and this is the right time. We need to get this area fixed in order for us to have a sound and running real sector in this country. A lot has been said, and I want my colleagues to fall into line in respect to getting the necessary support for this bill because it's important. It's sine qua non to our desire to have a sound and up and running real sector in this country. I therefore urge my colleagues to support this bill so that it can move to the next stage of the legislative process. I say submit.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Electric Power Sector Reform Act 2005, consolidate the laws relating to the Nigeria electricity supply industry, and enact the Electricity Act 2021 to provide a comprehensive legal and institutional framework for the post-privatization phase of the power sector in Nigeria, and for related matters, Bill 2021, SB 511, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Electric Power Sector Reform Act 2005, consolidate the laws relating to the Nigerian electricity supply industry, and enact the Electricity Act 2021 to provide a comprehensive legal and institutional framework for the post-privatization phase of the power sector in Nigeria and for related matters 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Power to report back within 4 weeks. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Gusau Teaching Hospital Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 23rd February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Alhaji Sahabiawu to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Sahabi Alhaji.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the opportunity to lead the debate on Federal University Gusau Teaching Hospital. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Federal University Gusau by upgrading the Federal Medical Center Gusau to address the precarious health condition of the people of Zamfara. These conditions have far-reaching consequences that affects everyone in the state, young and old, rich and poor, indicating that Zamfara state is ripe for a teaching hospital. Conditions such as the proximity of a teaching hospital to Zamfara state in terms of distance, time and money is one of the major hindrances that have contributed to the poor healthcare delivery in the state. Unlike other states where citizens can reach these services within a short distance, many of whom are very low-income earners are compelled to travel long distance to access this healthcare service. Considering that farming and grazing are the major occupation of the people, the financial implications of reaching such medical care is beyond them. As a result, it has become commonplace for citizens to give up on loved ones to die from preventable diseases either at home, on the way or a few hours after arriving lower hospitals. Consequently, preventable hospital deaths have become one of the problems confronting the people of Zamfara state. It is on record that the maternal mortality rate at Federal Medical Center Gusau is higher, precisely 7.2%, than the national average of 5.7%, with most days occurring within 24 hours of admission. This in addition to the ever-increasing under 5 mortality rate and other preventable deaths resulting from higher risk epidemic outbreaks involving malaria and Lassa fever, acute watery diarrhea, acute respiratory infection, measles, yellow fever, meningitis, cholera, malnutrition, etc., that the presence of a teaching hospital
can ameliorate. The presence of a teaching hospital in Gusau will provide the medical facilities, specialist physicians and surgeons, resident medical doctors, doctors and trained student doctors to take charge of the most needed services. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, from all perspectives, the establishment of a teaching hospital in Gusau is long overdue, especially now that the board of the Federal Medical Center Gusau has requested for an upgrade of the center to a university teaching hospital. More so, the commencement of such medical courses at the Federal University of Gusau makes the establishment of a teaching hospital a necessity for both teachers and students. This bill, when passed, will have no immediate financial burden on the federal government treasury, as the facilities for the immediate takeoff of the proposed university teaching hospital Gusau are already in place. The presence of a university teaching hospital is desirable, understanding that such federal service will usher in business and employment opportunities to the larger number of unemployed youth in the state, from transporters to food vendors, sanitation workers, laborers, farmers, and such like. There will be a positive impact. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to give the legal framework for the establishment of the Federal University Gusau Teaching Hospital, a project that is long overdue. I call on you, therefore, to unanimously support this bill in order to reduce the crisis and suffering of my people, the good people of the State. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Taslim Folar.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, my name remains Taslim Folari and I represent Oyo Central. Mr. President, I rise to second this bill which seeks to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Federal University Gusau. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what is worth doing is worth doing well. If you're going to have a federal university like the one we have in Gusau, it makes sense to also have a teaching hospital where you can use as a platform to teach, to train future medical staff, doctors, dentists, and the rest. Mr. President, what I also like about this bill is that it is not seeking to create a new structure. We all know we are living through difficult times. All it seeks to do is to upgrade an existing medical facility, which I think is excellent. On this note, Mr. President, I want to encourage my other colleagues to please support this bill. Thank you.
Senator Kabiruga.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Kabiruga, representing the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, thank you for giving me the opportunity to support this bill raised by Senator Habiau, which is going to talk on the issue of establishing a federal university teaching hospital in Gusau. Actually, when there are any cases of disease, it moves from the village to the local government headquarters. From the local government headquarters, it moves to the capital. And Gusau is the capital of Zamfara, so there need to have a teaching hospital in that location. I support the bill, Mr. President. There is a need for establishing this teaching hospital in Gusau. I so support.
The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North, Niger State. Mr. President, let me commend my brother for this particular bill and to lend my voice in supporting that this bill be read the second time. Mr. President, in doing so, let me say that in his submission, he listed a number of diseases that are problematic. And I think one of the reasons why it is apt that we should invest more in this kind of institutions, so that when we have more people and we have a situation where some other people are not ready to work for government, the training of health personnel can be a continuous thing. So having this institution to support the Federal University, Gusau, is not just the right thing, it's actually the wise thing to do. Cancer today, for example, is becoming problematic. I can imagine the elderly and those who require such kind of treatment. It will be very expensive for them to be transporting themselves back and forth to receive chemotherapy, for example. So I think it's apt that this bill be supported to be read the second time. I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Federal University of Gusau and of a management board for the hospital and for other related matters 2021 SB 640 second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Federal University of Gusau and of a management board for the hospital and for other related matters 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Education, Ekiadolo Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 21st September 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Matthew Orogide to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Matthew Orogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Matthew Urogide. I represent the Edo South Senatorial District. The President, I rise to move that the Senate consider the bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Ekiadolo, and for other related matters, 2021 SB 800. Second reading. I so move, Mr. President.
Have you finished the presentation? You have finished.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important bill before us today. The bill calls for the enactment of the Federal College of Education Ekiadolo, already established by Presidential fiat, to fulfill the aspirations of thousands of school leavers from within and outside the state who desire to become professional teachers and to yearn to enjoy access to high standards of academic instruction from a federal institution of higher learning under the umbrella of the Nigerian Commission for College of Education, NCCE. This bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 21st September 2021. Over the years, Nigeria has implemented policies to improve the standard of education and increase the number of quality teachers. The objectives of the college, among other things, shall be A, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of certificates in education. B, to provide teachers with operational competence for teaching in pre-tertiary institutions, basic, senior secondary schools, and non-formal education institutions. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, as a developing nation, Nigeria continues to place teacher education at the center of nation building, and this aligns with global best practices as expressed in 2005 by UNESCO for the enhancement of a system to produce quality teachers and teaching. Undoubtedly, the realization that College of Education will be a tool of national development lead to an unbridled quest for vigorous expansion of College of Education in Nigeria. The objectives of the college as outlined in the bill, among others, include 1, to encourage the advancement of learning to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction. 2, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of certificates in education. 3, to provide social mature educational men and women with capabilities not only to understand educational need of Nigeria as a nation, but also to exploit existing educational infrastructure and improve on it to develop new ones. 5, to act as agents and catalysts for effective educational system through research and innovation for effective economic utilization and conservation of the country's human resources. 6, to bring quality change in education by focusing on teacher education through teaching and learning innovations. 7, to collaborate with other national and international institutions involved in training, research, and development of education with a view to promoting governance, leadership, and management skills among education managers. And finally, 8, to identify educational needs of the society with a view to finding solutions to them within the context of overall national development. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the educational infrastructure in Nigeria. Therefore, distinguished colleagues, it is my prayer and passionate call on you to consider the plight of the people who are desirous of becoming professional teachers. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as already indicated, this college has been established by presidential fiat by Mr. President CNC and has assumed the state of college education Ekiadolo. What this bill is to achieve is to provide the needed legal and legislative framework for the college. In line with Orders 77 subsection 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2015 as amended, a compendium of the financial implication of the establishment of the college is hereby attached. Therefore, I urge you, Mr. President, and my very distinguished colleagues, to support the expeditious passage of this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Biodun Olujimi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I stand to support this bill for the act to establish the Federal College of Education, Ekiadolo. Mr. President, the bill speaks for itself. For the federal government to have established a College of Education by fiat means that the government realizes the fact that there is a need for teacher education in the country. And this is why, Mr. President, you will notice that we have more bills on the establishment of colleges of education across the nation, because without the relevant teachers, education cannot be taken to the level at which we desire. Mr. President, this is just to ensure that the framework for the already established College of Education is established. And I believe that our colleagues will support this, and the Senate will also support the establishment of more federal colleges of education across the nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill will now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Ekiadolo, and for other related matters, 2021, SB 800, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Ekiadolo, and for other related matters, 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Albert Basi Akpan and 23 others on the urgent need to encourage oil multinational and Nigerian oil and gas companies to relocate.
Chief Whip, the chamber is a bit noisy, please.
relocate to their operational bases. Mr. President, you were to invite the single Senator Albert Basi Akpan to move the motion. To move the motion.
The single Senator Albert Basi Akpan. Akwa North.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Senator Albert Basi Akpan, Akwa Ibom Northeast. Mr. President, this is a motion on the need to encourage all multinational and Nigerian oil and gas companies to relocate to their operational bases. Mr. President, the sponsorship of this bill also includes Senator Jaribe, my brother, Senator Gesh Basi, and Senator Sandy Ono. Mr. President, this Senate notes with concern that multinational Nigerian oil companies have over the years been operating from their respective operational bases until the militancy and insecurity.
Distinguished Senator Suswam, please. You can take your seat on that side, no problem. Chief will give me a seat.
Until the militancy and insecurity in the host communities in the Niger Delta became the order of the day. This Senate also notes that the reason proffered by the oil and gas companies for not relocating to their host communities has always been due to insecurity and hostilities in the host community. This Senate, aware that operating outside the host community and operational basis is the reason for the high cost of production in the oil and gas industry, which has been the bane of the country's oil and gas industry, militating against maximum revenue from crude oil and gas sales to the Federation accounts. This Senate recalls that this high cost of production has been one of the most contentious elements of our petroleum industry value chain. This Senate convenes that the recent passage and signing into law of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 by the National Assembly and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, respectively, is a major milestone towards the restoration of lasting peace in the host communities. This Senate further convenes that the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 now places certain responsibilities on security, peace, and safety of oil and gas infrastructure on the host communities to safeguard and ensure peaceful coexistence between oil and gas companies and their host community. This Senate further convenes that it's an opportunity to restore, recover, and rehabilitate the massive and huge infrastructural facilities abandoned by the various oil and gas companies in their various operational bases to ensure their full utilization. This Senate assured that the relocation of these companies to their host communities will further boost development in those areas and enhance corporate social relationship and strengthen our collective resolve to considerably reduce the contentious costs of production and ensure adequate returns to the Federation accounts. This Senate accordingly resolved to mandate its committees on petroleum resources upstream, downstream, and petroleum and gas to liaise with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Presidential Implementation Committee on the Petroleum Industry Act to facilitate the relocation of the oil and gas companies in Nigeria to their various operational bases to ensure their smooth operation. I so move, Mr. President.
The single Senator Degi Eremeyo Biyo Barakuma.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Degi Eremiayo. I represent Bayelsa East Senatorial District. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I rise to speak in support of this motion of which I am a co-sponsor. Mr. President, he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. And
if the shoe is not oversized,
this motion is coming from a song from the hearts of the Niger Delta where oil and gas production activities is going on. Mr. President, it is a known fact that in all over the world, basic elementary, economic theory, that industries are sited close to the source of raw materials. It is only in Nigeria, with the oil and gas industry, that they will choose to site the operational, facilities only in where this oil and gas, is being exploited. But the operational headquarters, that is in terms of the offices, the very gigantic buildings and infrastructures are sited either in Abuja or Lagos. While the source of the raw materials, the people that are hosting these facilities don't even know where the headquarters are located. And this is the source of some of the agitations and problems, within the oil and gas producing communities, because they cannot easily access the management of these multinational companies to lay their complaints. You see, Mr. President, it's a serious, very, very serious problem. I believe that if this motion, colleagues, have support for this motion, and it is passed and implemented, it will go a long way to assuage the yearnings, assuage the apprehensions, of the people within these host communities. Mr. President, as a matter of fact, because of this situation, the government of these areas are not even benefiting from the revenue, that is payment of tax, within the localities that they are exploiting this oil and gas. Because the workers will claim that they are not resident in these areas. There is what we call houseboats. The companies will bring tugboats, houseboats, and then they are located in these flow stations and oil wells. So they don't even live. The workers don't even live in the communities. After 2 weeks, they go back to Lagos. And so the payee is not accruable to the state government. These are all the things that the people suffer on account of locating the headquarters away from the source of the raw materials. Mr. President, the passage of the PRA as a matter of...
You may round up, please.
Passage of the PRA, we cannot reap the full benefits of it if we don't insist and implement this idea of making the multinationals and in fact even the Nigerian oil and gas producing companies to relocate to the areas where they are producing oil and gas. It is on this note that, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I appeal to all our colleagues to support this motion because it is good for all of us. It is good for Nigeria. It is good for economy, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Nicholas Tofoomo.
Thank you, our Senate President. I'm happy that this bill has come up, and I'm supporting this motion wholeheartedly because in my senatorial district, 2 local governments have been victims of what is happening presently. What is happening presently can be tagged as hit and run. They take the resources from there, they took it elsewhere, they perform what they want to perform. And if you look at these areas, presently, pollution is very heavy in these areas, like Ilaje, Eseodo, which is part of Niger Delta. So it will be very meaningful if these industries can go back to where they originate all these raw materials, so that they can take care of pollution, they can assist people in these areas, because it will surprise you that in most of these local governments, they don't even have water supply. They can't drink clean water. They don't have electricity. They don't have education. They don't have anything. And oil is produced from these areas. I think it will be very meaningful if these industries can go back to their source where they produce all these things, so that they can be part of the community there, so that they can assist and life can be very, very easy. But what is happening presently is tantamount to exploitation, and I'm very sorry to use this word, it's tantamount to professional robbery, because we are taking things from there and they are not getting anything back, and it's very painful and unfortunate. So I totally support this bill. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Gesham Henry Basi, Cross River South.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gesham Basi, Cross River South. Mr. President, I think I wholeheartedly support this motion, first of all, and I think it's a fantastic motion, and I think it's long overdue. But when we look at it, one of the reasons why the IOCs and the indigenous oil companies tend to have their head offices away from the point of production is because of the regulator, and also because of the subsidiaries of NNPC like NAPIMS. So it is important and it is key as a starting point that we move the new regulatory agencies that we are creating back to the source of the crude oil and gas. By moving NAPIMS, DPR or the regulators back to that point and to that source, naturally the oil companies will also follow. But in a situation where, as was happening before, NAPIMS and DPR were based in Lagos, naturally the oil and gas companies stayed in Lagos so that they could access NAPIMS because of the way the business is operated. So I want to add to this motion that it is important that we urge the federal government to move the regulators and to move NAPIMS, who are the ones that interact with these IOCs, to the source. So NAPIMS should be based in the south-south or wherever, and so should DPR or the successor regulators. Apart from that, I support this wholeheartedly, and I think that I urge my colleagues to also support this.
We'll go to the prayer of the motion. Mandate Senate committees on petroleum resources upstream, downstream, petroleum sector and gas to liaise with Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Presidential Implementation Committee on the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, to facilitate the relocation of the oil and gas companies in Nigeria to their various operational bases to ensure their smooth operations. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe on the urgent need to conduct investigation on allegation of fake COVID-19 test results being used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana and obtainment of fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe, Kwara Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. The motion I'm about to move is being co-sponsored by my colleagues in the Health Committee, distinguished Senator Umar Sadiq Suleiman Radasa, distinguished Senator Utazi Chukwuka Godfrey, and distinguished Senator Betty Apiafi. Mr. President, I proceed to read the motion. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate recall that the COVID-19 infection declared as a pandemic by the World Organization in February 2020 is still ravaging the world. The Senate is aware that in the absence of definitive cure for the COVID-19 infection, the main stance of management are COVID-19 vaccinations and the observance of the non-pharmaceutical prevention method, which include the use of hand sanitizers, hand washing, use of face masks, social distancing, and continuous testing to be able to isolate those that are affected or infected. Aware also that in the early stage of the pandemic, the socio-economic life in many countries was shut down due to the consequence of the closure of borders and air travels. The Senate is further aware that with improved understanding of the epidemiology of the disease, countries opened up their borders and economy with the enforcement of compliance to negative COVID-19 testing and various quarantine conditions instituted by the countries. The Senate notes that while the global rollout of COVID-19 vaccination continues to accelerate, it's worth remembering that only around 1% of the world population have received their full course of injections. Billions are still waiting for their first dose, which inevitably leads those people to question exactly when they will get it, especially as plans are being made internationally to allow those that have been vaccinated or can prove they have had a recent negative test the freedom to travel to other countries, attend large-scale events, or take a new job and more. The Senate also notes that there is a strong and growing demand for vaccinations and test results because of the greater freedom they will give to people. Also, there will always be people who don't want to wait for the official vaccination or for an official negative test result, and shady people willing to service that demand. The Senate further notes that there is a serious allegation that the Ghanaian authorities are diagnosing Nigerians who travel to their country of testing positive for COVID even after testing negative in Nigeria. The Senate observed that the Ghanaian authorities usually commit Nigerians who visit their country to isolation for 2 weeks and are made to pay about 70,000 naira per day while in isolation for the hotel where they stay. The Senate observed also that this allegation was exposed following a visit by a Nigerian artist and his team, who was told in Ghana that he had COVID even after testing negative at a Nigerian facility in Nigeria. He rejected the result and insisted that it was a fake result. He was deported or kicked out of Ghana by the authorities and proceeded to the United States from there, where his test result on arrival came out negative. The Senate is worried that Nigerians traveling to Ghana or through Ghana lamented that they are made to pay almost 1 million naira while in isolation because of the longer stay period. The Senate is further worried that most of the Nigerians traveling to Ghana or through Ghana have alleged that the Ghanaian authorities have made them target for the purpose of, public purpose of making money. The Senate is concerned that if this allegation is not properly investigated and addressed, the exploitation will continue, thereby unlawfully taking away resources of Nigeria in this global economic recession. And the Senate is worried that if the allegation of people obtaining and using fake COVID-19 vaccination cards to travel is not debunked, it may have negative consequences for Nigerians with the new COVID-19 vaccination card from traveling outside the country. Finally, before I read the prayer, sir, there were 2 other developments that came up after the motion was submitted, which may be of interest to Senate. One is the notice given by United Kingdom not recognizing vaccinations obtained by Nigeria. And many Nigerians, and including the distinguished senator, have contacted me, and we have investigated that, and the Nigerian authorities are also concerned because the vaccinations that are being given in Nigeria are certified by World Health Organization. So no country who is a member of the WHO should have such a right. So I want to say that we include this as part of the investigation. I therefore move that and pray that the Senate directs its Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary, Primary Healthcare and Communicable Disease, and Foreign Affairs to conduct detailed investigation on the 2 allegations of fake COVID-19 test results being used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana, and the allegation of people obtaining use or using fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. I so move, Mr.
Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that there is urgent need to conduct investigation on the allegation of fake COVID-19 test results being used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana and the obtainment of fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, it's unacceptable for Nigerians to be defrauded and be quarantined against their wish because of an assumption or an allegation. This in itself will tend to rubbish the hard work and the success recorded by PTF and NCDC There's so much hard work here, and whatever is being done here is guaranteed, is accepted, and is known to World Health Organization level, and we should not allow Ghana to rubbish all our efforts. Mr. President, secondly, people obtaining fake COVID-19 vaccination cards must be taken seriously, because this again will rubbish all the efforts we are doing in this country transparently, with so much investment into the health sector, particularly in control of this pandemic. This has to be investigated so as to give confidence to the whole global community that in Nigeria, the vaccinations we are having here and the cards that are being issued are genuine. Of course, there are those who are doing, unscrupulous activities, which we need to find out and be able to step our feet to show that we are doing the right thing. Those who are doing the wrong thing have been identified, and they must be brought to book as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. President.
We go to the prayer. Distinguished colleagues, the prayer accordingly Senate resolves to direct its committees on health, secondary and tertiary, primary health and communicable diseases, and foreign affairs to conduct detailed investigations on the two allegations of fake COVID-19 test results being used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana and obtainment or use of fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Those in favor of this say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the eighth order of the day is a House bill for concurrence, as listed on the order paper. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 14 September 2021. Mr. President, for the simple nature of this bill, and also to cement inter-chamber reciprocity, I move that the bill be read the second time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be read the second time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Concurrence. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Road Funds for the purpose of financing routine and periodic maintenance of national roads and for other related matters 2021 has been 367, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Roads Fund for the purpose of financing routine and periodic maintenance of national roads and for other related matters 2021, second reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I would first like to avail members of the nature of this bill. This bill was among the bills that were referred to the President for his assent in the 8th Senate. It was returned and some corrections were made, and it went through the House of Representatives for assent. So it became House bill and was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 21 September 2021. It seeks to establish the Federal Road Fund, which shall be a repository of revenue accruing from road users, charging systems, and other sources for the purpose of financing the maintenance and upkeep of national roads and promote sustainable development in the road sector. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, this bill was passed by both chambers in the 8th National Assembly, as I said, and all the observations made by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief have been duly considered and resolved. This bill is the same status. It has the same status with the Companies and Allied Matters Act, which has since received the assent of Mr. President. It is one of the bills that is central to our quest for resolving the challenges we currently face in the transportation sector of our economy. Indeed, today, The motions that came before the Senate on the points of order were all dealing with issues that require the funding of our intervention in the road sector. This demonstrates the agency of considering this bill and its passage into law. It is a straightforward bill that has gone through all the necessary legislative processes in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of the bill as we refer it to the Committee of the Whole for clause-by-clause consideration. So therefore, Mr. President, I would like to end this by moving a motion in accordance with our Order 81, subsection I. I will move the motion for the bill to be referred to the Committee of the Whole for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider this bill clause by clause, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Leader, we are not extending time, so we should be able to. We are not extending time, we should be able to finish it. Huh? Yeah, it's step forward, it's everything retained. So, it's only 29 clauses. Those in favor of clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6 on page 3, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10, functions of the board. Those in favor of clause 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 7, powers of the board. Clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16 on page 9, pension. Clause 17, application of the administrative fund. Clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, books and records of accounts, and clause 20, audit and accounts. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21, limitation of suit on page 12. Clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25, penalties. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26, regulations on page 15. Clause 27, the role of the minister. Clause 28, and clause 29. Those in favor of clauses 26, 27, 28, and 29 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The short title. Those in favor of the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Schedules 1 and 2, those in favor of these schedules stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The long title on page 1, those in favor of the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I move that the chair resolved into plenary in order to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Road Fund Bill 2021 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 27 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, the explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to a motion that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Road Funds for the purpose of financing routine and periodic maintenance of national roads and for other related matters 2021 SB 367, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Roads Fund for the purpose of financing routine and periodic maintenance of national roads and for other related matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations and well done. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings, which are on our order paper, I thereby move that the Senate do adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, 29 September 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion moved by the Leader and seconded by the Minority Leader that the Senate do adjourn till tomorrow, Wednesday, 29th day of September 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, 29th day of September 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.